Everybody was good.
All right. Good afternoon, and thank you all for joining us today. Before I even begin with this press conference, I want to again offer my sincere condolences to all of Mr. Gray's family, to his friends. I am very keenly aware of their pain during this difficult time, and I know that many in our community continue to pray for them. I want to thank the members of our community for their commitment to peaceful and respectful protests during this process. Our community is very clear. They demand answers, and so do I. I still want to know why the policies and the procedures for transport were not followed. I still want to know why none of the officers called for immediate medical assistance despite Mr. Gray's apparent pleas. The one thing we all know is that because of this incident, a mother has to bury her child. And she doesn't even know exactly how or why this tragedy occurs. Only that this occurred while her child was in our custody, in police custody. And this is unacceptable. As mayor, as a parent, as someone who's lost family members to violence, I know that this is absolutely unacceptable, and I want answers. Commissioner Batts has assured me that the Baltimore Police Department is moving as quickly as possible with a responsible investigation, and we will determine exactly how this death occurred. If necessary, we will hold the appropriate parties responsible. I recognize that there's frustration over this investigation, but I want to be clear. There is a process, and we have to respect that process. In order to have justice, and not just seek justice, the investigation has to follow procedures. It needs to, the investigation and the police and the others who are looking into this have to be able to follow up on leads, and they have to be as thorough as possible. Again, in order for us to have justice and not just seek justice, we have to protect this process. Commissioner Batts has pledged to leave no stone unturned until, no stone unturned during this investigation, with the goal of turning over all of the information to our state's attorney a week from today. I appreciate the outside independent investigations and reviews that will be a part of this process, and we will cooperate with all of them. The outside review from the Department of Justice is welcome and should provide confidence to everyone that this investigation will be comprehensive, independent, thorough, and fair. Throughout this process, it's absolutely vital that we remain one community. Over the past week, I've met with community leaders and spoken with families to talk about exactly this. And just a few minutes ago, I'm so incredibly blessed to have had the opportunity to meet with faith leaders from across Baltimore to discuss how we can work together to build community as the Baltimore Police Department moves forward with their investigation. We have strong communities here. We have a strong faith community here. And we have a strong tradition of being able to protest and still be respectable and strong in our community. So far, I'm encouraged, I said, about how peaceful the demonstrations have been. And I want to thank the police department for working so hard to protect there's right to be heard, and working with them to facilitate peaceful demonstrations. As we move forward, I will continue to encourage residents who wish to voice their frustrations. I encourage them to do so. I also encourage them to be peaceful. I appreciate the sentiment, that same sentiment was echoed by the faith leaders that we had a chance to speak to today. I know that this weekend, whether you're Jewish, AME, Baptist, Catholic, or any denomination across the board, I know that if you show up on Saturday or Sunday, for service. That's my plug for you. If you show up, I'm sure that you will hear a message asking for continued peace. I will not deny that here in Baltimore we have had a very long and complicated history on issues such as these. But it's important to remember that we have an equally long history of peaceful and legal protests. We are the home of Thurgood Marshall. We're the home of one of the first sit-ins of the civil rights movement. We have a responsibility to preserve that legacy, and I know that we're up to the task. Now I'd like to turn things over to a few of those who were in the meeting this afternoon to go into some more details. First, I would like to hear from Reverend Dr. Frank Reed, Bethel AME Church.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We, the members of the Baltimore faith community, stand here today with our mayor and on behalf of our city. We come in the spirit of Amos, saying, "Let justice roll down as waters and righteousness as a mighty stream." We come in the spirit of Martin Luther King and Mahatma Gandhi, saying, "Let us protest, but let it be nonviolent protest, so that the legacy of the death of Freddie Gray is that a great city will become greater after this." And so we're here today to stand again with our mayor for justice for Freddie Gray, his family, and our entire city, because Baltimore is going to be better after this than it was before.
Thank you. I would now like to introduce Gregory Perkins, pastor at St. Paul Community Baptist Church.
Live coverage of I should say, of Baltimore Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake holding a news conference there in City Hall in Baltimore. The mayor recommitting to a full and fair investigation of the death of Freddie Gray, and saying that she also commended the city for what have up until this point been, for the most part, peaceful demonstrations and protests. She also noted that the faith community, of which she is represented in large numbers there by pastors from Baltimore area churches, calling for continued peaceful demonstrations this weekend. It's also worth noting, too, that Governor Larry Hogan's office has announced that it's sending a team of 32 state troopers to help with crowd control, and that at the request of Mayor Rawlings Blake. Baltimore police say it's common to ask for troopers for help with events that have large crowds. Now, there have been demonstrations now for almost a week, and on Wednesday night the protest splintered into two groups. Another group marching 20 blocks to City Hall, at times blocking intersections and disrupting traffic.